never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It's a Wednesday, so of course that means it's time for another weekly top 10 countdown. But before I get into the countdown, let me first say that I'm thinking about debuting a brand new video, something that I have not yet done before here on the channel. If I do it, I'll do it on Friday. So if I decide to do it, I will let you know tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. If I don't do it this week, I will do it eventually. But it's kind of unique. Something that I've been debating on whether or not to do, and I'm still thinking about it. So if I do it, like I said, I will do it on Friday, so I will let you know for sure tomorrow if I'm gonna do it. If I don't mention it, then that means I'm not gonna do it. But on to this week's top 10 countdown, and this is gonna be something that I have not yet talked about here on the channel. In the world of sports, it is a top 10 countdown about sports, but it is a sport I have not yet talked about here on the channel, and that's why I debated on whether or not to do it, because I did my first video about boxing a couple of weeks ago, and I actually got some pretty good responses, pretty good feedback. So I thought, you know what, let's try another new sport and see what kind of feedback I get. And I figured since this sport just had one of their major tournaments, I would go ahead and talk about it, and that is tennis. We're going to talk about the top 10 greatest all-time tennis players. So if you know someone who likes tennis, please feel free to tell them to watch this video. Tennis is one of those sports that I've always loved. It's not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy watching it. But I figured since I have not yet talked about it here on the channel, and I had not yet talked about boxing until my boxing video 2 weeks ago, and since it did so good, I figured I would try something else new. Tennis is usually, for the most part, one of those sports where there are not really a lot of casual tennis fans. People either love it or they hate it. Or maybe they'll watch a certain male tennis player or a certain female tennis player, but that's about it. So if you have any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. Number 10 is John Mcenroe. He debuted in 1978 and he retired in 1992. And he won 105 career titles. Now, tennis, in case you don't know, if you're not a follower, you may not know this, but tennis is really the only sport that people make their professional debut at a young age. You do see it in golf on occasion, but not like tennis. There are usually every year 4 or 5 new tennis players that come along and make their debut, and they're only 14, 15 years old. So that's why a lot of times when it comes to tennis, you really can't look at numbers and compare numbers to see who is good and who is great. You have to really sit back and watch them, because a lot of times these people make their debut at 14, 15 years old. So by the time they're 25, they've made millions of dollars, so they're done. So obviously they're not going to have the kind of credentials and the kind of resume that others will have that start when they're 15, 16 years old and go to their 35 or 40. But a lot of tennis players are done by the time they're 30, 31 years old. Number 9 was Ken Rosewall. He debuted in 1957 and retired in 1980, and he won 133 career titles and had 8 singles Grand Slam victories. Number 8, Jimmy Connors, who debuted in 1972 and retired in 1996, and he won 147 career titles and also had 8 singles Grand Slams. Number 7 is the Swedish-born Bjorn Borg, who debuted in 1973 and he retired in 1983. So there's you a good example. He was only a pro for 10 years and he decided he was done. He won 101 career titles. Number 6 is probably the one that everybody is going to know, Andre Agassi, who debuted as a pro in 1986 and retired in 2006, and he won 61 career titles. Before we talk about the top 5, let's recap 10 through 6. Number 10, John Mcenroe. Number 9, Ken Rosewall. Number 8, Jimmy Connors. Number 7, Bjorn Borg. And number 6, Andre Agassi. This is the top 10 greatest all-time tennis players according to me. Number 5, Pete Sampras, who debuted in 1988 and retired in 2002. He won 64 career titles, 14 Grand Slam singles victories. Number 4, Novak Djokovic, who is actually still doing it. 87 career titles in the resume of Novak Djokovic. Number 3, Rod Laver, who actually debuted in 1962 and retired in 1979, and he won exactly 200 career titles. And the top 2, just about anybody is going to know if you follow tennis at all. Even if you don't, you're going to recognize both of them's name. And these are, for the most part, for most tennis insiders, these are most people's top 2 in whatever order you choose to put them in. Number 2 for me is Roger Federer, who has been around since 1998, has 103 career titles and 20 Grand Slam victories. And number 1 for me is Rafael Nadal. He has been around since 2001. He has 92 career titles and 22 singles Grand Slam victories. That is the top 10 all-time greatest tennis players according to me. Hopefully I'll get some good feedback on this. I know I enjoy tennis. I know tennis is not one of the big 3 sports. It's probably not even one of the big 5, because most people would probably have hockey and soccer ahead of tennis, but I actually enjoy tennis. I know it's usually hard to find unless you have the actual tennis channel, which most people don't have, but really about the only thing that comes on TV is the French Open and Wimbledon, and that's really, for the most part, about it. So it is hard to follow along with because it doesn't really come on TV a whole lot. So usually all you hear about and see about is the highlights, but I thoroughly enjoy it. So hopefully I'll get some good feedback on this. let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why don't skeletons ever go trick-or-treating? They have no body to go with. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.